Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Hamid Bugo, the Chairman of Petroleum Sarawak Berhad, Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Abdullah Zaidel, the Director of Economic Planning Unit Sarawak, distinguished guests, representatives of government agencies and departments, representatives of oil and gas industry, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Petroleum Sarawak Industry Connect event with the team Harnessing Our Resources for Sustainable Progress of Sarawak. I am Aisha Eriza, your Master of Ceremony today. To start the event, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Abdullah Zaidel, the Director of Economic Planning Unit Sarawak, to give the opening remark. Please welcome.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Salam Sarawakku sayang. Distinguished guests, representative from Sarawak oil and gas companies, representative from related agencies and ministries, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all and welcome. It is my honor today to be standing here to share with you our perspective as the central agency that coordinates the economic planning activities under the Sarawak government. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarawak has progressed in the past 50 years and we are aspiring to be a high-income and advanced state. At Economic Planning Unit, we aspire to drive Sarawak to move towards a high income and developed status by the year 2030. For this, we have outlined the Sarawak Economic Agenda towards 2030. This aspiration was previously tasked under Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy SCORE, and Sarawak Socio-Economic Transformation Plan, or known as SETP. We aspire for the future of Sarawak to be driven by data and innovation, where everyone enjoys economic prosperity, social inclusivity, and living in sustainable environment. Sarawak Economic Agenda 2030 is a long-term plan for us to improve for the well-being of all Sarawakian to be at par with the rest of the nation, and also to develop, and also as our developed counterparts in the rest of the world. This year, the year 2020, in light of the raging COVID-19 pandemic and the devastating rippling effect it has on global economy, under the leadership of our Chief Minister, the Right Honourable Datuk Petinggi, Abang Haji Abdul Rahman Zohari Tun Abang Haji Openg, Sarawak government through our unit has unveiled the post-COVID-19 exit economic strategy for 2030. This strategy was formulated and to be implemented and monitored through Sarawak Economic Action Council, or SEAC, which was formed in collaboration between the Sarawak government and private sector representatives. 14 key sectors have been identified to be catalytic for achieving the goals of SEAC, namely commercial agriculture and agro-commodities, manufacturing and entrepreneurship, mining, forestry, tourism, services, renewable energy, education, and human capital development, infrastructure, digital transformation, and innovation. This comprehensive plan aims to double Sarawak's annual GDP from current 133 billion to 282 billion ringgit by the year 2030, with the aim to create at least 200,000 high-value jobs in the next 10 years. This will usher a new era for Sarawak, backed with digital technologies and innovations. 2020 is the final year of the 11th Malaysia Plan. EPU Sarawak is currently preparing for the Sarawak 12th and 13th Malaysia Plan, which is 2021 to 2025 and 2026 to 2030. This comprehensive plan will require more than 127 billion ringgit development expenditure for the implementation in 10 years, or on average, ringgit Malaysia 10 to 12 billion a year. The objective is to prosper the state and address the needs and improve the living standards of the people of Sarawak come 2030. Investment in prioritized economic areas will triple the current average of monthly household income of 5,400 ringgit to that of 16,000 ringgit a month towards 2030. The key component of SEAC is to accelerate development program and projects in the state. The plan is a two-pronged strategy whereby the development programs and projects are enjoyed by the present generation, and the development program and projects are investments and catalysts to harness and spur economic activities to sustain growth and development for the future generations. Sarawak is very fortunate because we are blessed with abundance of natural resources such as oil and gas, land, water, and forestry. These are factors of production that we are harnessing for our sustainable development. The key for our success, given these resources, is the ability to add value and diversify the products and services from these factors of production. In order to unlock our economic potential, we are accelerating our physical projects such as road infrastructures, airports, and seaports, as well as telecommunication towers across length and breadth of the state. Our comprehensive physical plan for the state, which I believe will provide mobility to the goods and services, which is a prerequisite for businesses to thrive in the competitive era. In tandem with robust infrastructure development, we are now intensifying our effort to develop key economic sectors where state has competitive advantages. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to transform our rural economy through modernization and commercialization of agriculture. This is one of our strategies to monetize our ideal land, which is abundant in the rural areas. Through this approach, we will be able to produce our products in high scale for exports. In order to ensure the industry grows, we are enhancing the whole supply and value chain of agriculture sector. We believe the development of this sector will create a critical mass in the rural areas that have huge impact to the whole rural economy sustainability. The critical mass will attract the establishment of support services such as finance, insurance, education, health services, and other commercial activities that will create jobs and business opportunity for the rural communities. In order to ensure the viability of this strategy, we need to increase the productivity and yield by adoption of digital technology and precision farming. We are now intensifying more R&D initiatives to boost the agriculture production, enhance our biosecurity, quality, and standards of agriculture products. Driven by Sarawak SEAC, we are committed to work towards a balanced economic development through the emphasis on inclusivity, or what we call rural transformation. Under the Sarawak Rural Transformation Program, or known as RTP, basic infrastructure will be provided, socio-economic program will be introduced, and human capital will be developed. The program will involve the development of coastal areas and covers the interior areas, for instance, Bakun, Murum, Bengoh, Baram, Tuno, and Baleh areas. Economic potential will be identified as soon as these rural areas are connected to the main highways. The development of sustainable and renewable energy via our hydroelectricity power projects in those interior areas will be carried out systematically and sustainably. Once developed, this power plant will serve as catalyst to stimulate development. Leveraging on Pen Borneo Highway, which is expected to be completed by 2030, we hope to reduce the cost of living and improve accessibility of rural population to various economic activities planned in the cities and suburban across Sarawak. This will enhance business opportunities between rural-urban areas and close income gaps between rural-urban divides. SEAC sets out to accelerate income growth and reduce income disparity for Sarawakians. And this objective can only be achieved if we increase high-value activities in remote areas. Ladies and gentlemen, through SEAC, we will continue to ensure sustainable environment development for our future generation. We are aware that a sound environment can ensure our people to continuously enjoy a healthy and quality life, which are free from disasters. In this regard, we will focus on productive and sustainable forest management, water resource management, and waste management. Heavy fossil fuels consumption has raised concerns over energy security and climate change, while hydrogen is regarded as the fuel of future to decarbonize global energy use. Today, in developed countries like the United States, Germany, Japan, South Korea, hydrogen is commonly used as feedstock in chemical industries and has a wide range of energy applications such as vehicle fuel and energy storage. We are aware that we are highly dependent on the rivers as our main source of raw water supply. Almost 90% of our potable water resources is extracted from rivers. Thus, we will continue to beef up our development planning and reinforce to ensure our people will continue to enjoy safe and clean treated water supply. Accordingly, we are committed to ensure that our totally protected forests will achieve 1 million hectares. As such, concerted efforts have been taken to continuously gazetting the high conservation value forest area. Restoration and rehabilitation of the degraded forests will also continue to be carried out through planning of indigenous species. Rapid industrialization and expansion of population growth have continued to increase the waste generation. As such, new technologies and methods to address the increasing domestic and industrial waste need to be adopted. We will continue to ensure our waste management, which include segregation at source, setting up of regional waste management centers, transfer stations, and other waste-related infrastructures and facilities. Ladies and gentlemen, in line with the 11th and the 12th Malaysia Plan, our continued effort to create high-income opportunities are focused to drive sustainable economic growth. For instance, the Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy, or SCORE, focuses on growing the energy sectors and target 10 high-impact priority industries. SCORE aims to attract major projects which will create downstream opportunities for similar businesses. As these energy-intensive businesses establish themselves locally, they will provide a major economic boost for those rural areas. With SCORE gathered momentum, residents in rural areas will see a rise in the income and quality of life. The core of SCORE's development strategy lies within the abundance of inexpensive, clean, safe, and renewable energy provided by the hydroelectric infrastructure. With our oil and gas industry in line with the aspiration of the mining, manufacturing, and entrepreneurship sectors under the SEAC, we are looking at future unlocking the value the industry through both upstream and downstream endeavors such as petrochemical, focusing and leveraging access to indigenous resources such as natural gas be further industrial development. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude with my sharing today, I would like to beseech our industry player and representative present today to work together and align with Sarawak government in order to capitalize on existing and new opportunities in Sarawak. It is in our best interest to facilitate and help industries and businesses to thrive and be successful in Sarawak for the betterment of our own economy and society. Thank you and have a good engagement today.
I would like to inform the audience today that Dato Sauu Kakok, the Group CEO of PETROS, and Dr. James Foo, the Executive Vice President for Upstream PETROS, are joining us virtually. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be collecting some questions from the crowd today, and you may follow the instructions on the screen. You can grab your phone, go to www.menti.com and enter the code 3493766. The link and code to submit your question will be displayed on the top of the slides in this session. The questions also can be voted, and the highest vote questions will be addressed at the end of the panel session. Now, please join me to welcome the Group CEO of PETROS, Dato Sri Kakok, to deliver the keynote address.
The presence of Tan Sri the chairman of PETROS. I would also like to thank Dr. Muhammad, who have kindly helped organize this event today. Thank you for all the industry players who, under difficult circumstances, have been able to join us this afternoon. And lastly, I want to thank all my partners in the Sarawak Government Service who are here in the room to join us this afternoon. What I would like to talk about, just building on what Dr. Muhammad have presented earlier, is to give a reality check on the opportunities and challenges for Sarawak in the oil and gas sector. So I will start off by looking very briefly at the industry landscape. Thereafter, take a look at what PETROS' mandate is as provided by the state government, and therefore arising from that, the priorities which we have been working on for the last 2 years or so. And lastly, to highlight some of the key challenges that we are faced with not only for PETROS, but also for Sarawak State in particular. Next. I want to take a look at how the production of liquids, which is oil and condensate, as well as gas, looks like for the whole of Malaysia. And if you look at the plot on the left, it's quite clear that the liquids production for the country is declining, more so in Peninsular Malaysia, but also in Sarawak, whereas Sabah has been able to sustain the level probably into the 2030 timeframe. The gas outlook is a little bit healthier, largely offset by the ability to sustain Sarawak production at a fairly high level, which is roughly about 4,000 million standard cubic feet per day. However, beyond 2030 timeframe, there will be increasing deficit in the production compared to the demand based on existing facilities that are already on the ground, and that would be aggravated if indeed we are able to generate investment that would require additional production for domestic purposes. And that's going to be very important because if we don't do that, then we are unlikely to be able to meet the vision that we have set out for ourselves for the state. On the right-hand side, if you look at the reserve status, Sabah lead the league table as far as liquid reserves is concerned, at around 49% of the balance as of 1st of January 2020. However, on the gas side, you can see that Sarawak is by far and away the winner among the 3 different parts of the country: Peninsula, Sabah, and Sarawak. And that's good news for us, and because it does mean that we are able to sustain production, as you can see, at least until 2030 timeframe, and with more effort, we will be able to hopefully sustain level at this production well beyond that time frame and perhaps into the 2050 time frame. Next. I want to concentrate a little bit on the gas production because that's the one that is really top of the agenda as far as the state is concerned. If you see today, because of the existing demand, largely in Bintulu from the MLNG complex, the SMDS plant, ABF, and also the small domestic demand, you have a total gas production which is north of 4,000 million standard cubic feet per day. And if you look at the balance, more than 90% is for generating products in the form of LNG, gas to liquids, and of course specialty products that SMDS plant generate, as well as the urea from the ABF plant. All those are exported out of the state. Yeah? And only a small amount, about 6%, is utilized locally for power generation in Bintulu and Miri, industrial purposes in Bintulu, as well as residential in Miri. And if you look at the different countries that have significant gas resource as well as significant gas production, you will note that typically you'll be looking at significantly higher domestic utilization, and that's important because that's the one that will generate economic value that will be able to pass on down the value chain to different parts of the population. So today, Sarawak is roughly around 6%, as I indicated, and our focus is to try to increase that to a significantly higher level in order to generate the socio-economic impact that is required if we're going to be able to meet the target that you heard from Dr. Muhammad earlier to increase the income level from what it is today to about 16,000. That would translate into Sarawak being a developed state by 2030. Next. So against that backdrop, I want to touch on what is PETROS' mandate and what are the priorities that we have set for ourselves in order to drive our agenda. Next. PETROS is a 100% state-owned company, and therefore, not surprisingly, our purpose must be totally aligned with the vision that the state have set out for itself for 2030, which is to become a high-income and advanced state. To be effective, we must position ourselves to participate and play a key role that would allow a greater share of the economic benefits from oil and gas to all Sarawakians. And this means in the upstream, it is about understanding our resource base and how we can participate in the value creation, and hence the word harnessing our resources. In the downstream, down the value chain from the upstream, it is about enabling economic benefits either through access for utilization and or employment of Sarawakian that would result in the high income and advanced state vision that is aspired by the state. And hence the choice of words, sustainable progress for Sarawak. Against this backdrop, next, our priorities in the upstream as well as domestic gas are anchored around a number of opportunities. In the offshore environment, we will be looking to participate in various production sharing contract based on the B2B arrangement. In the onshore, which you will hear more of from Dr. James Fu afterward, we will be embarking on an exploration program that hopefully can be started in the beginning of next year. And that's the purpose for today's event. In fact, the handing over of the mining lease to PETROS for the purpose of initiating that activity. In the middle, you see a number of dots which indicate the different basins in Sarawak. Yeah? And in the middle, you see number one, that is Central Luconia. That is where most of the resource base that are currently producing to Bintulu comes from. And we believe there's still some running room in there. Overall, we consider the Sarawak Basin to be fairly mature, and the three big mature basins which have generated the bulk of the production to date. Number one, which is Central Luconia. Number two, Baram Delta. And number three, Balingian offshore Bintulu. These are very mature to the extent that the additional discoveries in those areas may be fairly limited. We have a number of emerging areas which we believe still hold some potential, particularly in the western part of Sarawak, which is labeled number 6. That is West Luconia area. That would be the focus for the future. Today, there is no infrastructure around those, and therefore very limited activities there. And of course, the onshore number 7, for which you will hear more of in a moment. Therefore, the aim for PETROS is to be very deliberate in the areas where we want to participate in order for us to be able to meet the requirements in order to deliver the value that the state aspires to. On the domestic gas utilization, earlier I mentioned that today we are at a fairly low level, about 6%. We are looking to try to increase that to something around 20%. And for that purpose, we will need to be looking at expanding the utilization of gas into the different parts of the state other than Bintulu and Miri, which is well connected by pipeline system today. So in a nutshell, for upstream, participation in various opportunities offshore, driving the onshore exploration, and in the downstream, we will be looking to see what we can do in the onshore in order to rejuvenate the area, hopefully for future production. Next. This is one area which many of you are probably aware of, decommissioning, which is abandoning the facilities that we have installed in the offshore area. If you look at the picture on the right, that's a pretty accurate representation of what the footprint looked like at the moment. And what is clear is as far as growth is concerned in terms of spend level, decommissioning is definitely a growth segment in the future. However, there are high-risk activities in terms of the technical scope, execution capacity, the market outlook for what you need to do afterwards, and the organizational requirement in order to be able to undertake this kind of activity. experience in other parts of the world where major activities have taken place, particularly in the North Sea, indicate that average costs compared to implementing project typically are about 84% overrun compared to development of a new project, which yes, you do have some overrun too, but it's more in the 40% category. Schedule typically take longer than required, and on average in the North Sea, the abandonment activities required about 10 months longer than was initially projected. A lot of lessons have been learned for us to be able to plan more effectively in the future, and these are in the areas of sharper level of planning and scheduling, innovation in the way in which the activity need to be executed. The management of the supply chain is very important in this activity, as well as standardization in the approach in which you need to execute, plus taking a very lean approach in the way you execute the task. So if you look at all these and you take a look at the capacity of Sarawakian contractors, next slide. What we see, these are based on the figures that we have looked at for 2019. In 2019, the total value of contracts awarded in the Sarawak waters was just short of 8 billion ringgit. Yeah? And you see on the left, about 29% of that was awarded to Sarawakian contractors. If you look at the number of registered contractors in Malaysia today, there are about 550 or so, but only 11% of those are Sarawakian. And on the right, extreme right of the picture, summary of jobs awarded, that's perhaps a more depressing picture, which highlights that although 87% of the contracts that were awarded to Sarawakian are below 10 million ringgit. So in terms of the total that were awarded in 2019, you see the bulk of the winners are in the 1 million and less category. And that is really the consequence of the lack of number of contractors that are Sarawakian who can compete in the higher value segment. And if you recall earlier, the point I made about the execution complexity associated with abandonment, which is going to be a big growth sector in the longer term, you really need to make sure that we have the right number as well as capacity in order to be able to execute those jobs. If you look at the vendor development program that has been going on since 1994, there have been 24 Sarawakian vendors out of 110 Malaysian companies that participated in that, small in number, and therefore an area that we definitely need to take a look at how can we improve the number of Sarawakian contractors that would be able to compete such that a large amount of the value of the contract that is awarded in Sarawak waters can be competed and won by Sarawakian contractors. Next. I want to finish off by looking at what are the key challenges faced by PETROS as well as by Sarawak as a whole. So starting with PETROS, Many of you are very familiar with what is happening in the global environment today. Yeah? And all these mega trends that we call it are also impacting the way in which Petros need to position itself in order to be competitive. I've broken it down into 5 different areas. Firstly, the timing of the oil demand peak post-COVID. And I think all of you are familiar with the impact of COVID on demand for oil. It has taken a big beating in 2020 in particular, and the chances of recovery is still a big question mark. It will probably take a year, 2 years before it can recover, if it ever recover, to 2019 level. And in the meantime, of course, climate change and greenhouse gas emission are front and center for everybody, which means that renewables are taking center stage in terms of development and taking a greater share of the energy mix. The general consensus today is that the oil demand, which has dropped, as I indicated earlier, will probably continue to, and the current expectation is the peak oil demand will probably be reached in the 2030 to 2035 timeframe. This is important for us in the way in which we balance our portfolio between oil and gas in order to make sure that we remain competitive. The supply curve, understanding your position in the oil supply curve is extremely important. The large growth in tight oil production from the United States have reset the floor for oil pricing. And therefore, in the long term, you're likely to see prices in oil hovering probably in the 40 to 50 range at a sustained, for a sustained period of time. As far as gas is concerned, that's probably the only bright spots in the market. The expectation is that notwithstanding the fact that the demand also dropped as a result of COVID, it will bounce back largely because of demand from India, China, as well as greater Southeast Asia. And in fact, it will go into some form of deficit starting around 2030-35 time frame. However, again, the effect of United States entering the market means that the outlook for LNG prices will continue to be muted, perhaps at a level which is lower than what you have seen historically, largely because, again, United States LNG will set the floor for LNG pricing in the long term. The fourth area, which of course is very important for Petros, is our ability to access capital in the market. We are a very capital-intensive industry. We don't anticipate that we should be relying on state funds to fund our activities, and therefore the way in which we have positioned our business is to be able to tap the external market for funds that we would require in order for us to not only acquire assets, but at the same time to grow our business in the longer term. This means that we, like all the other oil companies, will need to take a good hard look at how we're going to balance our priorities with respect to oil and gas investment in the context of the environmental, social agenda that is really front and center for all investors today. And that is an area that we are looking at what do we do in that space in order to be able to attract the right level of interest, not only from investors, but also at affordable level. The last piece, which of course you have heard a little bit from Dr. Muhammad earlier, is there potential for disruptive technology on the horizon, and he touched a little bit on hydrogen. However, many of these technology are not entirely mature, and it is unlikely that it will have a big impact in the next 5 to 10 years. What it means, irrespective of the pace at which renewables is going to displace fossil fuel in the long term, you will continue to see fossil fuel taking quite a significant chunk of the total energy mix well into the 2050 timeframe. In that context, I think it's fair to say that we are relatively safe in that the investment that we make today and probably in the next few years will continue to have some life well beyond the 2030 timeframe. So these are the 5 areas that we are continuing to monitor as we shape the specifics of what PETROS need to chase, bearing in mind the need for us to ensure that the state 2030 vision will also need to be realized. The last thing which I want to touch on is what about the state? That is Sarawak state. Next slide. This is a piece of an outcome of a piece of work that we carried out in the last year or so using an external consultant and looking at Sarawak competitiveness as an investment decision. This is important, not so much for the upstream, because that's largely related to your ability to access capital in the first place, but also your ability to justify the investment that you make in the form of return on capital. Whereas the interest is largely to try to go further down in the value chain. It does require us to take a look at how would we position the state as an investment decision for companies that are looking to invest in the hydrocarbon value chain further downstream. And this exercise was done through interviews with a number of companies that you see at the bottom there, the likes of BP, INEOS, Reliance, and so on and so forth, and asking them to assess Sarawak in 6 different categories. First and foremost, location. I think that's by far there's a general consensus that Sarawak is well placed on the major shipping route, and therefore definitely a place that investors would be interested in. What about access to advantage feedstock? Yes, we have a lot of gas, as you saw earlier. We also have the ability to sustain the production level that you have seen earlier as well. However, the cost of the gas to the customers is important, as well as the long-term reliability of supply. I think those are areas which are work in progress. We can sustain the current level in order to meet the demand of the existing customers. However, as I indicated earlier, anything well above the current level will require additional resource to be found, developed, which means the need for us to be able to access the right level of capital in order to do that. Ease of doing business. This is an area, of course, that can be done relatively quickly, but it does require coordinated efforts among different government agencies in order to make sure that the investors can do the business that they want to do in a simple as well as effective manner. Workforce, I think this is an area that is a work in progress for the state as well. The need for basic amenities to be upgraded, structured training program to be further developed are areas that have been identified as necessary. Policies and regulations, hopefully this is an area that the state can work effectively with federal government, especially with respect to fiscal incentives. And the last piece is about having world-class infrastructure, which is things like logistics, deep port facilities for export, and so on. And overall, what it means is that on the scale of poor to excellent, we are kind of middle of the road at the moment. Some work need to be done in order to make sure that Sarawak is competitive. So in conclusion then, I hope I have been able to indicate to you that there are a lot of opportunities for Sarawakian contractors in particular, especially in the decommissioning phase of the life cycle, which is already staring at us at the moment, as well as understanding the need that the state need to do in order to make sure that we are able to attract the right investors to be able to focus on the state as their investment decision in the future. So with that, thank you very much. And I'm happy to be participating in the panel afterward to answer any question that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato Sauu, for your keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to remind you to vote on questions in menti.com before we move to our next session. Now, I would like to invite Dr. James Foo, the Executive Vice President for Upstream Petroleum Sarawak, to start the sharing session on rejuvenating Sarawak Onshore.
I'd like to acknowledge esteemed guests in the room, Yang Berbahagia Dato Sri JC Fong, our State Legal Counsel, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri Hamid Bugo, our Chairman of PETROS, Dato Sauu, of course, who's our CEO of PETROS, Yang Berusaha Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad, Director of EPU and also a board member, heads of state ministries and departments, Tuan-Tuan, Datuk, Puan-Puan, and all the esteemed members of the oil and gas industry players, as well as local academia. I'd like to thank especially those who have flew into Kuching to join us today and to support us. Today I'll talk about PETROS Upstream, as well as about our focus in terms of rejuvenating the onshore oil and gas industry. Next, please. So PETROS, as a group, Dato Sauu explained our purpose, which is to harness our resources for sustainable progress of Sarawak, i.e., as per what Dr. Muhammad said, how can we achieve a high income, developed economy by 2030? PETROS as a group, we have two objectives. One is to be the effective steward and regulator for oil and gas industry in Sarawak. as well as investing in business. So investing across a full value chain, i.e., upstream or exploration and production, midstream, such as gas transmission, and then into retail downstream. In terms of my focus of my team, one is how can Petros manage all the onshore petroleum resources? Currently, negotiations are being held between state, federal, and Petronas. It has been agreed in principle that Petros would manage all the onshore petroleum operations. Obviously, the other focus for us is to grow profitable E&P business. And as painted by Dato Sauu, the other very important objective is to how to ensure that the E&P molecules remains to be there for long-term demands of Sarawak and also for export. And for this, we need collaboration with industry players, contractors, and with Petronas. Yeah, next, please. All of you have heard of OMO. So this is the structure by which we would actually manage and operationalize OMO. So through OMO, MMKN and the Chief Minister would award licenses and lease to Petros. Now, Petros will be the one-stop center for onshore resource management. We as Petros, we will package this into a petroleum contract or production sharing contract, which is the industry practice, whereby we would actually package and invite investors to come and invest, to take the investment risk. It will be through competitive bidding, and we will be encouraging, in fact, we are encouraging, actively encouraging Sarawak players to join the bidding process. Bidders needs to obviously fulfill the technical and financial capability requirements. The petroleum contracts is such that the investors takes investment risk, and upon commercial success, the residual profits are shared between the investor and the resource manager, such as Petros. Petros, of course, as Dato Sauu says, is 100% state-owned company. In terms of timelines, typically, exploration prospecting takes about up to 4 to 5 years. Development and production takes up to about 25 years, and thereafter, obviously, abandonment, which is very important as well. How do we leave the area in a manner that is responsible, removing all the unnecessary, let's say, infrastructure. Next, thanks. So as Dato Sauu touched upon, Sarawak has a long history in oil and gas. In fact, it started onshore when oil seepage were found in Canada Hill in Miri more than 100 years ago. That said, though, there has not been significant commercial discoveries onshore, despite some activities. If you look at the map, you will see some green hatches. Those will be seismic, if you like, lines that's been taken over the years. So Sarawak offshore has been more, if you like, more attractive in terms of a huge oil and gas reserves. Onshore has not been the case so far. So our challenge, if you like, as the onshore manager, is to drive a more focused program looking at assessing potential. What we want to do is to attract investors that enables them to do early commercialization of any discoveries. Now, Petros as a whole, we will invest in getting more data to then be able to de-risk these areas and then carve out more areas and then inviting investors to join us. So our initial focus will be on 2 blocks, SK433 and SK334. We intend to start the offer and bidding process very shortly with a view to award in Q1 next year. Next, thanks. So a bit about the block, so block 433. Before I get into the block, in simplistic terms, a commercial oil and gas reserve needs 3 things. One is it needs to have a petroleum system, or what we call a kitchen. A kitchen is where biomass are cooked to create hydrocarbon source. So we need that condition. The second condition is we need, if you like, good rock properties that can hold this hydrocarbon in situ, right? And then the third, if you like, requirement is to have trap structures so that there's a seal so that this hydrocarbon do not escape through leakages or seepage over time. Now, of course, these accumulations is big enough to be of commercial value. For the three conditions, we do believe that SK 433 has those three conditions. Onshore SK 433, we believe, is an extension of the very prolific offshore Baram Delta fields. Baram Delta has been producing for decades already. We believe it's a proven petroleum system onshore, and good data shows that there are good structures and good traps onshore 433 as well. Nippon Oil actually discovered a sub-commercial discovery, Arun Kecil, in 2013. Yeah. So our intention is to package two mining leases which encompass Arun Kecil and Nkabang, as well as general prospecting license for the entire block into one PSC. There will be some minimal work commitments, which includes one well to be drilled to appraise Arun Kecil, and if successful, we will enable early commercialization of the hydrocarbon. There would also be work commitments to cover studies, additional seismic acquisition to delineate more prospects. The area is quite close to existing facilities like MCOT. So if there's any discovered hydrocarbon, we believe the evacuation, commercial evacuation will be quite, if you like, more simpler. You know? Okay, next. The other block is 334, covering Limbang and Lawas area. This is a more, what we would call a frontier area. Again, based on data, we do see that this is an extension of the light formation in terms of containing good sandstone reservoirs, as well as trap structures. Based on the field geochemistry, it does confirm that there's active petroleum system in the area, which actually, if you like, is consistent with discoveries on the Brunei side of the area. For example, the Jerudong field. So our intention is to package this area as one petroleum contract, initially focusing on prospecting, and upon success, carving out mining leases with MKK support as well for this area. So the minimum work commitment would cover for this contract geochemical studies, reprocessing existing seismic data. Seismic data was shot around Limbang area in 2016, so this needs to be reprocessed, as well as acquiring new seismic data, all with the purpose to identify wells to be drilled. Yeah, so that's the minimum work commitment covering this this area. Yeah, next. So in terms of bidding process, the top bar, if you like, describes the typical bidding process for potential investors for the PSC. So there's a month of investor registration. Thereafter, potential investors are invited to the data room, and from there, some of those companies would apply for expression of interest, and then there's a 2-month bidding process and evaluation, and then leading to award to the successful investor, and then finally clarification of the smaller stuff before the PSC is fully signed. So that's the typical process for bidding. Now for SK 433 and 334, in fact, these blocks were offered up for data room in 2018 by PETRONAS. This process was suspended when the matter of OMO was raised with PETRONAS. So these blocks, if you like, are already known to potential investors. So the timeline below describes the process assuming no new players raise their hand to join to participate in the process. If they are, that's fine. We'll just push out, if you like, the timeline to the right a little bit. But for the moment, our plan is to kick off the bidding process and then to award to the investor or investors in Q1 next year. I'd like to point out that the bidding process and the award cannot really be executed until the ongoing PETROS-Petronas federal negotiation is completed on the commercial settlement agreement. So negotiations have progressed quite far, and I believe it's quite close to conclusion. So I'm confident that this timeline is a realistic one. That's all I have. So I think all in all, onshore Sarawak will be challenging. People have looked at it in the past, with not great results. Nevertheless, I think it's really exciting. Two things will be needed for the success onshore. I think one is innovation in terms of finding technical solutions and applying the latest technology. So this is where we need your help as industry players and local academia in terms of how can we lower the costs of the activities such as seismic, improve the quality, as well as, if you like, shorten the cycle time. Another very important second ingredient is collaboration. We do need the support and the collaboration of state agencies to ensure that we do detailed planning with the PSC investor such that their operations run smoothly, because any disruption would be cost. Here I'd like to just, if you like, minta tolong some of the agencies that we really need to work very closely, such as Land and Survey, of course, Forestry, NREB, Department of Occupational Safety and Health, local councils, and many more. So I think, minta tolong, we would come to you very shortly in terms of once the bidding process is ongoing, how can we plan the forward-going activities such that things run really smoothly. So, terima kasih, thank you, and like Dato Sauu, we will take questions in the panel session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James Foo, for a very informative sharing. Now we are moving on to the next session, which is a panel session. So I would like to pass my duty today to the moderator for the session, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Abdullah Zaidel, Director of Economic Planning Unit Sarawak, to join. Please welcome. We would like to invite Dato Sri JC Fong to join the stage.
Yeah, please. All right. Thank you, MC, for a job well done. And thank you very much, Dato Sri JC, for your presence today, this afternoon. And we have many distinguished players. They are all key players in our oil and gas industry here. And I also like to see that Dato Sauu and Dr. James will be online with us. And I believe they are prepared with, and we are loaded with questions here. give the opportunity to Dato Sri to give some words, would you like, to the audience, sir?
Thank you, Saudara Datuk Muhammad. I'm not sure what I have to say, apart from the fact that we are now at a stage whereby the state is taking proactive steps to reclaim its rights to regulate oil mining in Sarawak, especially in the onshore area. This is part of the strategy of the state government to play a very proactive, enhanced role in promoting the upstream aspects of the oil industry in Sarawak. It is hoped that with the efforts that have been made for PETROS to spearhead onshore mining, we will be able to realize the potential of the hydrocarbon resources which are onshore of Sarawak, which have not been given attention to since the 1970s, because offshore mining was deemed to be more, shall I say, lucrative and exciting to the industry. Now, we are not only focusing on the upstream aspect of the industry, the state government is actively trying to expand the state role in the downstream aspects in the following way. Number one, we take over the regulating role of the distribution of gas in Sarawak under the Distribution of Gas Ordinance 2016. Number two, as we know, PETROS has taken over the role of the aggregator of gas at Bintulu in order to supply, for the supply of gas to the industries in the Kudurong area. Number three, we are developing a gas master plan, which may have been mentioned before I come, in order to outline or to assess the amount of gas that required for the state's industrialization purpose, and how to secure this volume of gas to meet the needs to implement the new gas master plan. Next, we are also, through PETROS, taking over the LPG distribution network in the state. There will be an event soon regarding this. And lately, as we know, there has been an announcement that PETROS will also be involved in the retail business. There is a plan to set up its first PETROS service station somewhere in Putrajaya. So those are the plans which the state government is able to do and to promote because the law allows this. We are not going to do anything which is outside the current legislation. We have made Petronas realize that our laws also regulate the upstream as well as downstream aspect of the industry. So the net result of all this would be that the state will play a bigger role in the development of the oil and gas industry in the state. So we will ensure that greater opportunities be given to Sarawakians and Sarawakian companies to take part in this industry. And also, very importantly, to ensure that the resources, especially natural gas, is available to the state in order for the state to advance its industrial development agenda.
Yeah.
All right. I think that is in broad outline what we have achieved so far. And discussion with Petronas are still ongoing relating to other aspects with the intention to ensure that the state get a fairer or more equitable share of the revenue from oil and gas found and produced within the boundaries of Sarawak. Those discussions are still ongoing.
Yeah.
Okay, the issue relating to state sales tax have been settled. Petronas has paid the 2019 state sales tax strictly based on the law and on the volume of petroleum products that have been sold and the value, the sale value of these products. The sum of 2.9 billion that has been received involves no discount given to Petronas, and we are still working with Petronas for payment of the state sales tax this year. They should be paid before the end of this year. So this is part and parcel of all the efforts that the state government is making under the leadership of the Chief Minister to ensure that we get our fair share of the revenue from oil and gas. We are not going to make things difficult for the federal government or Petronas, but we feel that the revenue that we have been receiving from oil and gas previously are not commensurate with our rights to the resources that are found within the state of Sarawak. And the state also needed these additional sources of revenue to drive its development agenda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dato Sri, for a very enlightening efforts that's done by the government of Sarawak. Okay, this question will be open to Dato Sri, Dato Sauu, and Dr. James. Be ready for these very difficult questions. Okay, one is, I believe this is some of the questions that everybody looking forward for some reply from PETROS especially. Okay, will PETROS have a vendor development program? Short and sweet. So I maybe invite Dato Sauu to answer that.
Yeah, let me start on that, and the rest can build on the topic. The vendor, as far as participation of Sarawakian contractors is concerned, we have had quite a number of discussion with PETROS on how do we take this forward. I think the consensus is that they are very supportive in wanting to make sure that more Sarawakian can compete and win the contracts that are being awarded in Sarawak. Specifically related to the vendor development program, the way forward, we have had a number of discussions with PETROS on that. We have not kicked off the work just yet, but a number of things have been agreed in principle to be the basis of how do we jumpstart this effort in order to develop more Sarawakian contractors. And I'll just highlight a few of them for your benefit. First and foremost, the criteria and basis of selection for VDP and VDPX is something we want to take a look at. We will want to do a targeted approach to ensure that certain categories of work are earmarked for Sarawakian. In that context, of course, it translates into what kind of contractors do we need. We want to encourage the anchor companies that are operating in Sarawak to participate in the VDPX, for which some of you are familiar with that. As far as PETROS is concerned, what we want to do is to develop some form of apprenticeship program. We have not detailed that out at this point in time, but that's certainly on the wish list of things that we want to do. And using the PETROS website, which we have just launched to ensure that we can communicate with all the Sarawakian contractors in a more efficient manner. We have understanding with other big PSC contractors to do some form of a joint road show, which will indicate, what are coming up, what do we need to do, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, it is also about how are we performing against what did we set out to do. So one of the areas which we have highlighted and discussed with PETROS as well is a regular review of the VDP performance and assessment of the current effectiveness of the program that is in place. So lots of activities on the plate, but we have, like I said, we have not kicked that off yet. But clearly, it's something which we have been thinking deep and hard. As you saw from the slide that I shared, a lot of the Sarawakian companies are only able to compete in the low category work. And we want more of you to be able to be competing in the high value type work, which many of them will be in the future. And we will talk a little bit more about that when we come to decommissioning, which I see a lot of questions have been asked on that.
Yeah.
I'll stop there and see if there are anything to add from the rest.
So my next question is the Sarawak Onshore really prolific in the past 100 years? Only Miri field and Asam Payak field were produced. Dr. James, you'd like to comment, and maybe Dato Sri can add a bit after this because that's your area, Dato Sri. You're quite very versed on it. Dr. James?
Yeah, I'll kick off first. Depends who you talk to. Yeah, I mean, if you talk to explorers, they're always optimistic. But I think reality sets in. So we believe that onshore Sarawak will probably be less prolific than offshore. Having said that, though, if you look at the 2D seismic lines, a lot of these lines were covered over 2-kilometer grid. So not really detailed, if you like, delineation. So a bit early to say, but I think in all likelihood, probably less prolific than than offshore Sarawak. But I'm a surface person, not a subsurface person. And Dato Sauu is a subsurface. I think he's more educated than me in this area.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just be very brief then. If you look at the system that you have onshore compared to the offshore, first and foremost, so yes, there is a charge, which Dr. James who had alluded to before, but the issue is around trap size, which is really determined by the geology of the area in the onshore, which is a lot more complex compared to the offshore. You are also dealing with the thickness of the basin, which is relatively shallow. So if you compare the onshore with the offshore versus, let's say, Peninsular Malaysia, in the area that are of specific interest at the moment, you do have the sedimentary thickness of roughly about 3,000 meters. But in most places, the basement is probably no more than about 2,000 meters. And if you compare that with the offshore Baram Delta, which is a good 5 kilometers or so, and in the Malay Basin, which is even deeper than that, you can easily conclude that even if there is hydrocarbon migrating through that system, the trap size are going to be very small, and as James alluded to earlier, the seismic coverage doesn't allow us to be able to delineate this conclusively with the data that we have. So a short answer is lots of work need to be done, definitely not in the same league as the offshore, but there are something in there.
Okay, thank you. Maybe Dato Sri, you would like to add anything? No.
No, what can only, I do not know how much oil there is onshore. But all I can say is that if you want to explore or you want to mine the oil or the natural gas onshore, you now need a prospecting license or mining lease to be issued by the state government under the oil mining ordinance.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dato Sri, Dato Sauu, and Dr. James. I have another one favorite question here. Are there any strategies or plan to use gas availability as one of the advantages to attract FDIs to Sarawak? Is there any plan?
Okay, so let me start on that one, and James can add. That's effectively the work that we have been doing in the last year or so, looking at how can we create more value out of the gas. Just bear in mind that the gas composition that we have is purely, well, I mean, more than 90% methane, which means that the feedstock that you can create out of them without complex conversion is methanol and ammonia. These are the two building blocks that you can convert the existing gas into. And therefore, the option that we have in order to be able to generate profitable projects are fewer compared to Peninsular Malaysia, where you have a very decent level of ethane in the gas mix, which allows you to go into ethylene, which is the building block for a lot of other processes that you can build on afterward. So yes, that's really the focus for us, and the ability to attract FDI would really be our ability to be able to transfer gas to these industries at competitive pricing compared to other areas where similar industries would also be a target. James?
Yeah. Thanks, Dato Sri. For me, it's very interesting. The LNG market is commoditizing. What I mean there is that in the past, LNG contracts are on long-term sales. Now more and more they're on short-term sales or spot. So, and if you look at today's spot LNG prices, sometimes it can be really low, even lower than domestic gas price. So my firm belief is that for Sarawak, it's interesting to look at how we can diversify the value we get from our gas molecules by also decoupling some of these molecules and price it away from, let's say, the oil index, and then bringing it to as DOM gas. And with that, I believe the gas can still be competitive, and not just to attract FDI for petrochem, but even for local use, for example, like power generation. We are very close with SEB, and in my last discussion with them is that for system stability across the entire Sarawak, there's an optimum mix between hydropower and combined cycle gas generated power. So we are actually talking to SEB in terms of are there any opportunities whereby we can co-invest in combined cycle gas generation that would also help in terms of domestic consumption. And once there's such volume, then potentially we can even like lay pipelines, etc., and also generate other commercial use for the gas. So I firmly believe that the way the energy market is going in the next 10 years allow actually a close look at how some of this gas that is now exported could be used domestically. And as Sauu says, when that happens, there is economic multiplier in terms of job creation and the money even like spending in local economy rather than exported gas molecules. So it's, the trick is finding the right balance. The trick is to work with Petronas and the PSC operators to come to some clear strategic plan.
Okay, thank you, Dr. James. I just like to add, because when I look at the question, the term plans, planning, I believe I would feel guilty if I don't do my part in answering this question. As an economic planning unit for Sarawak, we, of course, there are a lot of things that we can do. As I mentioned in my remarks earlier, that this industry, oil and gas, is moving towards more into gas rather than condensate and crude. So, like Sarawak, as what Dato Sauu described in his earlier presentation, that Sarawak have a very, what we call, more future for gas rather than condensate or crude, for that matter. So, looking at gas, the planning obviously with the recently launched by YAB Chief Minister on the petrochemical hub in Bintulu, that is one way to send a message to the industry player that there is potential in developing petrochemical industry, downstream petrochemical industry in the state of Sarawak. So we might not have Pengerang, but we were going to have our own Tanjung Kidurong petrochemical hub. That shows that processes of over the fence, probably a more downstream of methanol. For example, you can do formaldehyde, or you can do acetic acid, you can do propylene, and few hundred more downstream products utilizing from one source of gas that be allocated to the state. So this is one example. In so doing, we're not only looking at FDI, we're also looking at DDI, domestic direct investment, rather than foreign direct investment. So meaning to say, you guys out there, you can always team up with those technology partners for you to explore downstream of methanol, for example, or downstream of natural gas, for that matter. So let's not restrict ourselves to FDI. We should look at DDI as another, whereby you guys down there on the floor are the expert, and I believe you can have more to contribute to the state petrochemical development. Dato Sri, you have anything to say on this? No. Okay. I'd like to go to the next question, which again I like. What is the key economic area to be focused on to increase gas utilization for domestic use in Sarawak? Okay. We see our neighbor country, Thailand, has achieved 100% domestic utilization as shown in the slide earlier. So, who likes to comment on this? Who likes to answer? Maybe anybody on the floor would like to answer? No, this just a joke. Okay, I give Dato Sauu. Okay, over to you, sir.
Let me kick it off then. So the question was about. Can you repeat?
Okay. What is key economic area to be focused on to increase gas utilization for domestic use in Sarawak? So that's
So if you look at Thailand, Thailand in the first instance, they are short of gas. So all the domestic production are channeled for local consumption, and the bulk of it is actually used for power generation. But of course, Thailand gas has a high level of ethane, propane, and butane as well. And in fact, some of the LPG that we use in Sarawak, you might not know it, but it actually comes from Thailand. So what it means is that the way in which you need to be able to promote greater utilization of gas is to have the ability to have big anchor customers, and James alluded to that earlier. We're working with SEB to see how can we actually enhance the critical mass for gas utilization to allow us to kick off the supply to the area in an earlier time frame. And we are looking at the different population centers in Sarawak. The immediate focus, of course, is Kuching, and that's almost without question. We don't have the critical mass that allows us to bring gas economically to Kuching at this stage, but we're looking to see how can we do that, assuming that power would be able to take some chunk of that volume. That makes a huge difference. Because if you compare in Miri, quite a lot of households are on direct gas supply. But the level of gas consumption is somewhere around 2 million standard cubic feet per day. And that is really very small compared to power. So if you do, let's say, a 500 megawatt power station, you would probably require something like 70 million standard cubic feet per day of gas. So that gives you the opportunity to ride on that volume, to bring gas to the area. And once you do that, you can start expanding utilization to industrial areas, which let's say in Kuching, for example, are largely run on diesel at the moment. And we know that we can bring competitive gas to them if we have some critical mass to allow us to bring gas to Kuching in the first instance. And of course, that would allow us at the same time to start targeting residential areas, which will allow you then to move away from LPG to use gas directly for cooking, and that frees up LPG for other purposes as well. So it's kind of a cascade of effect that we need to think about, and we are actually actively looking at how we do that. We do understand that you have to bite the bullet at some stage and do it to initiate the demand, and that will be an area that we will want to take a good hard look at for the big centers like Kuching, like perhaps even Tanjung Manis, Muka area, and maybe further up north. James?
Yeah, I think, as you said, I think key is how to spur the initial demand, because we do need scale. I think the other areas we're also always looking at is the Semalaju Kidurong industrial area, and tying. So we're looking at a pipeline to Semalaju, and that would spur a lot of, if you like, heavy industry usage. It's not easy, but I think Kuching is definitely an obvious choice, as I said, at the south. and linking to that even potentially in the future into West Kalimantan, whereby the population density is actually higher than Sarawak. So there could be some business to be done there, right? Yeah. In terms of using Kalimantan population to give a scale, yeah? Yeah.
Okay, Doc. Thank you, Dr. James. Sorry, if you want your question to appear, you can vote your friend's question, or if not, you can vote your own question. So then your question will pop up here, then I will pick it up. But so far, there's another interesting question, I think related to Dato' Saau's presentation earlier. Why is PETROS taking the responsibility to decommission and field decommissionment those aging facilities or fields that belong to Petronas PACs? Why is PETROS taking it up? I think quite a sensible question, logic
So
question.
So the short answer is no, we are not taking responsibility for decommissioning of the offshore facilities, which is under Petronas. But what we do want to do, because it is going to be a very big program going into the future, we want to be aware, or at least be part of the planning for the abandonment of these facilities. Don't forget, it's very expensive to install them, and therefore we want to make sure that there is absolutely no further use for these facilities before we start the abandonment process, or Petronas start the abandonment process. So our role is largely to make sure that we drive the plan for abandonment together, rather than leaving it entirely to Petronas. But we're not taking responsibility for the execution of those work necessarily.
If I can add something, Dr. Mohammed. So I think just to echo what Dr. Sauu says, so I think indeed our role is more to ensure that the abandonment plans by the PSCs are not ad hoc, but actually it's actually organized in the bigger picture. I mean, 20 years ago, I was involved, no, 15 years ago, I was involved actually in the Baram 8 abandonment, where we actually took the jacket and actually brought it to a marine park and create artificial reef, for example. So I'm saying that if we do strategic macro planning, we can achieve a lot through states' influence, both in terms of outcomes as well as in terms of cost efficiency. But the accountability, as Dr. Sauu says, remain with the PSC contractors. We just want to ensure that it's optimized.
So the answer is very clear. PETROS is not going to take over somebody as a baby.
Yeah.
All right. So next question, because I need. Okay, before we do that, I have this question I like to put up to the two gentlemen up there online. As a local Sarawakian contractors, to cater certain big value of an amount of bidding, are we allowed to joint venture or collaborate with foreign company? Let's say for this potential bid they being open, mentioned by Dr. James earlier. So can they team up with a foreign entity to bid?
So let me start. The short answer is yes. In fact, that is one of the areas that we also discussed with Petronas previously. Obviously, the Sarawakian contractors, if you want to play in the big league, unless you are the Dayang or the Petra of this world, you need to start somewhere. But what we are also looking for as part of that program is a clear succession or handing over, if you like, to a Sarawakian entity. So, the joint venture should develop the Sarawakian partners and making sure that they have a timetable to be able to perform on their own.
Dr. James, anything to add?
Yeah, no. Definitely. I think it's the same view. I think we definitely would allow, even encourage partnership, but there has to be clearly a capability transfer. It can't just be a post office, in terms of the partnership. Yeah.
Okay, I like this person who posed up this question. At the end of his question, he put thank you. Of all the questions I received here, none have put a thank you at the end. So except for this person. So I like his question, so I'm going to go through his questions. So whoever you are, you know whoever you are. You being very polite. Okay. Okay. In your opinion, how far is Sarawak in terms of sustainability measures in the oil and gas sector? How far have Sarawak in terms of sustainability measures in the oil and gas sector? Anybody would like to pick up on that?
Okay, let me start. Again, this relates, of course, to do we really know how much greenhouse gases are we, putting in the atmosphere, and do we know exactly in what category? So there are two parts. What the industry call scope 1, which is really related to your operation, and scope 2, which is related to the secondary effect of utilizing the products that you produce. I guess the good news is, we relative to the rest of the world, still small in the context of greenhouse gas emission, but it is an area that definitely need to be looked at if we want to remain competitive, and that of course can be netted out of the program that Dr. Muhammad alluded to before, like reforestation and so on and so forth. So I don't think we are 100% clear in terms of how far we have gone, but it is one area that we are in a relatively better place compared to some others, I think.
Okay. Dr. James, no,
Yeah,
nothing from you?
I can add something. I think the question is Sarawak, not oil and gas or PETROS. So definitely the frame has to be really big. So reforestation, which Dr. Muhammad you covered, is important. Sarawak, for example, Kuching, for example, still uses coal for power generation, and we touch upon we could bring gas into Kuching, but we need scale. So I think we need to look at the challenge in really broad context. And yes, Dr. Muhammad, working with EPU in terms of how to connect the dots across. Gas, which Sarawak has abundance of, is naturally actually a clean fuel. So I think gas today is being used, for example, to create hydrogen through steam reforming. So so there are various aspects to look at this big, massive challenge, but the frame has to be big enough, and parties got to be willing to work across industry. So, for example, like back to SEB example, we are talking actively with SEB in terms of potentially, if you like, converting some of this to gas-fired. We're talking to SEB about potentially hydrogen plant, etc. So we're talking to various players with a broadest frame possible in terms of how can we tackle the sustainability challenge.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. I have this one question I have been avoiding, but I believe as Sarawakian, I think it's just fair for me to read through this question for everybody to, to comprehend, and maybe comment from our two gentlemen. Probably if Dato Sri would like to add, it's regarding PETRONAS. You see, PETRONAS is still favoring West Malaysia companies. You want me to repeat that? Okay. PETRONAS is still favoring West Malaysian companies. They hear us, they're somewhere in the cloud somewhere. So is PETROS auditing PETRONAS contracting strategy? Do anybody like to answer that?
So let me start. As far as contracting strategy is concerned, no, we're not auditing PETRONAS contracting strategy. But how what they are doing today is what it is. What we want to be in the future is far more important for us, and that's the place where we want to make sure that in the first instance there are enough Sarawakian players, and as you saw from my earlier remarks, we need to grow that number in order to make Sarawakian more competitive. We are also putting a number of things in place to understand if indeed there have been participation of Sarawakian companies, and if they succeed, of course, that's good. But if they don't, we want to understand why, and what can we do to support these companies for future work as and when that may arise. So lots of work are going on in that space, and I think the objective of trying to get greater Sarawakian participation in the oil and gas industry is something we are very serious about. And through the discussion that we have been having with PETROS so far, I think there is a commitment on their part to support that as well. But it will be a process that will take a little bit of time. I don't think we can change it overnight. But the end outcome that we are all looking for is greater involvement, participation of Sarawakian, especially for contracts that are awarded in Sarawak waters.
I add to what Dato Sauu has said. As part of our discussion with PETRONAS, continuing discussion with PETRONAS on a commercial settlement, we want PETRONAS to enhance industry players from Sarawak in the award of contracts by PETRONAS, especially in areas which Sarawak companies or Sarawakians can execute. They have briefed us on what they have been doing, but we want them to increase their effort towards meeting our expectation or the expectation of the Sarawak companies in securing jobs in the oil and gas industries, especially now in the offshore areas, in operations in the offshore areas. We hope that we will be able to persuade them or to impress upon them to take into account Sarawak's companies' capability and our ability to execute works, and also to reserve certain categories of jobs within Sarawak for Sarawakians. That discussion is still ongoing, and we hope to achieve a good outcome before the end of the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato Sri. Thank you, Dato Sauu. But one thing I can assure you, I can confirm what Dato Sri mentioned just now is true and nothing but the truth. Because I'm a party to it. Yeah? I'm a party to it. Yeah. So we actually, part of the commercial settlement that we are looking at is Sarawak participation, Sarawak contractors' participation in the oil and gas industry. And it have to be quite promising, but then again, nothing have been concluded yet, but still work in progress. And again, we need your support, moral support, not monetary, but moral support, which I think costs more than the money, you know, that we're looking at. And I see now time is already at around 4:30, and then we're supposed to finish the whole event by 5 o'clock. I think that because some of you, need to change, refresh for dinner tonight. And before I finish it off, as I said, I will give opportunity for each and everyone to give their last few comments that they feel that they like to share before we end the session. So I'd like to invite Datuk Sauu first, and then after that, Dr. James and Dato Sri JC, which I respected, which I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I respect him well in his negotiating skill. Dato Sri, you have done so much achievement for the state of Sarawak. So without much ado, I invite Dato Sauu to give your last comment.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Muhammad. I'd just like to thank all of you for participating. I know there are a lot of questions that we have not been able to cover today. We'll be happy to cover that another time. It's just a bit unfortunate that I'm not able to join all of you either at the event today or at the dinner tonight. Otherwise, we could have the opportunity to engage some more. But there will be opportunities to do that, hopefully sometime soon. I just want to say that, I think we have made a lot of progress in the last 2 years. May not always be visible to everybody, but we have, I think, put squarely the issues that Sarawak want to achieve and the pathway to get there. We're still in the process of making them a little bit more implementable. But all the issues that you guys have raised, I believe are covered in one way or another in the effort that we are doing at the moment to try to get agreement with all the parties, whether it's PETRONAS or the federal government. So I just want to say thank you again to your support. Really appreciate the support that all of you have been providing us in this journey and making sure that we remain focused in getting the outcome that we all desire for the state in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Dato. Over to you, Dr. James.
I just want to echo what Dato Sauu says. PETROS is still a startup company. We need all the support we can get. So thank you very much, all the state agencies, all the industry players, as well as local academia. We need all the support we can get. We also are not Sarawak, so we are GLC of Sarawak State. So thank you in advance for helping us. Thank you.
Dr. James, rest assured, those on the floor, they are all the way supporting you, making sure that you find something at Angkabang and what they do, 433334. Make sure you find something there. So everybody is behind you all the way. I would like to invite Dato Sri to give your views, your overall summary of what transpired here.
Okay. All in all, the state government, under the leadership of the Chief Minister, wants to see PETRONAS recalibrate its relationship with the state. PETRONAS, like Dr. Muhammad says, has been viewed as a West Malaysian company. But anyway, it is also a national oil company. But PETRONAS is doing a lot of its activity in Sarawak and has benefited financially and in many other respects from the resources that have taken from the state. So we are asking PETRONAS to treat the state interests, respect the state's rights, as we move forward to develop the oil and gas industry in the state going forward. Discussion with PETRONAS has not always been easy, as Dato Sauu and Dr. Muhammad can testify. Sometimes it's very heated. I wouldn't say reach the level of acrimonious, but we are still trying to find, a path forward that will ensure Sarawakians benefit more from the oil and gas resources which are found and produced in the state. we have made some progress, but we are still striving to make more progress so that, you know, the people of Sarawak can now benefit from what is rightfully belonging to the state. We will continue to get Petronas to agree to give more work to capable Sarawakian companies and to improve their vendor development program and training programs for industry players in Sarawak, and to support us in many other ways to develop our own capability. We run the course of petroleum engineering in Kertin, Miri, and we hope that the oil industry players, especially Petronas, can send or give more scholarships to people to take up that course at Kertin in Miri to develop the, you know, our own local talent pool that would serve the oil and gas industry in Sarawak going forward. That's all I wish to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dato Sri. Thank you, Dato Sauu. Thank you, Dr. James. And it leaves me to conclude. What I like to highlight here is that the fact that PETROS was formed, or Sarawak Petroleum Sarawak Berhad, it was formed in somewhere in 2017 at the initiative of our Right Honourable Chief Minister, who have vision on Sarawak participation, increased participation, in the oil and gas industry, whereby, as what Dato Sri JC mentioned just now, that we want a more equitable participation, and not that we're saying that, you know, that everything should go to Sarawak. No, what we say that let it be, you know, a fair game and things like that. So, and with his vision and the support that Sarawakian give to him as our Chief Minister, I believe it will give him that drive to bring Sarawak to a new level, as what I put up in my text earlier, to achieve a developed state by the year 2030, looking at GDP growth of about 8% with state income of 282 billion a year in order to be a developed state then, and looking at probably 16,000 ringgit per capita income for Sarawakian. All this can only be done if we have a good leadership around us. And one thing, the latest that we got news that, you know, Shell is moving their office to Miri, and we were together. The Chief Minister was there together with Dato Sri last few days, meeting Shell, and they are looking at bringing in close to 700 personnel in Miri, and to show support that, you know, that Sarawak is really politically stable, and with visionary leaders in the politically as well as in the oil and gas industry. And I believe you see for yourself that Dato Sauu, with his leadership capability, he's always the one to answer. So he's always the one who answer the question, you know, without being invited. You know, he come forward. That shows his leadership, I believe. So what is necessary now is that we need to give the moral support to whatever proposal made by Sarawak government towards the industry, and full cooperation or full support for the industry is very important. So tonight, what you're going to see tonight, whoever want to witness that, it's not only dinner tonight, there's more to eat. So whoever is around will be part of history. You know? I mean, not history as, you know, you are gone. You know? You will be part of the history. You know, what you see, what's going to happen tonight. So YAB's Chief Minister made it tonight, the 30th of October, as the time that he chose for this event for him to announce a very important announcement today, which I believe is historic. So the rest of you guys, I wish I could have make the event much more interesting, but this is the best I could do, and I'm grateful and thankful to all who have made the time to attend this event, and maybe everybody give everybody applause, great applause for your participation. With that, I would like to end this session and see you guys tonight.